this round. We can get to that one. So here's what we're going to do today. We're going to teach you a new way to have a meeting, and this is kind of a grown-up thing, a new way to have a meeting with the people at your workstation. It's going to be a way to have a meeting to make sure that every single person at the meeting gets a chance to talk, and that the other audience members are listening. So we're going to do a project called Two Chips, and we're using Pringles. And these are the Pringles right here. They're teeny little Pringle chips. They're smaller than life size. And Mrs. Haber is going to take a movie. She offered to do this, so we're going to owe her for this. She's going to take a movie of Mrs. Hogue and Mrs. Call and I showing you how this project works. We're actually first going to show you a way that it would not work. So we're going to do a what not to do first. So here's how Two Chips works. Each person at your table, you're going to get a flip of two chips. And is there a person who's the leader of each table?
There's a table captain.
So the table captain then is going to take the flip off, put it somewhere safe. Maybe even clip it on the cup, because we don't want to lose these. Yeah, clip it on the cup. And then pass out two chips to each person at your table. So everybody gets two chips. Okay. And then we're ready. We got the two chips. Now, when we say go, I'm going to turn the lights off for a minute so you can see the smart board. Your question is going to be on the smart board, and this is the question for Mrs. Call, Mrs. Hogue, and Mrs. Green. The question says, why does it work better to use a line graph when measuring information across time? That's the question. Now, when we say go, the partners are going to have answers to that question, but only one person can talk at a time. And the person who's talking says something brief by putting their chip in. So if I want to take a turn, I'm going to put my chip in and say my answer. Here's the deal though. Each person at the table has to put a chip in and say something before I can say anything again. So I might have one answer, but I can't say anything else. I have to zip in till Mrs. Hogue says something, and we're going to go clockwise, yeah? Or it doesn't have to be clockwise, really. Everybody just has to put one chip in. Okay. Once everybody put a chip in, I can talk again. Then I can talk again with my second chip. So I can put my second chip in, and then Mrs. Hogue can put a chip in, or maybe Mrs. Call will say something with one chip, and then everybody's done. She might put her other chip in right away because she wants to say something else. Okay, here's the only rule. You have to say something. And you can't say, me too, or I agree. Yeah, that'd be too easy. You want to make it a little more challenging than that, okay? So, are you ready to watch us do it the way you should not do it?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's a do not. Here's a do not. I'll pretend I'm the teacher and then I'll pretend I'm the student, okay? So boys and girls, the topic is why does it work better to use a line graph when measuring information across time? Why does that work better to use a line graph?
I think it's because a line graph, I think the other day you said that we should use a line graph when we're talking about information like our different test scores.
Oh, dates. So you mean dates across time. So it's a good idea to use
Yes.
a line graph with dates. Well, I also like the idea of using a line graph because so many people love the way a line graph looks. And of course, I love the way the line graph looks. I love line graphs. I heart line graphs. I am a line graph lover. I love line graphs.
Mrs. Green didn't get a chance and you gave a whole bunch.
She's trying to butt in and take my turn. Teacher, she's trying to take my turn and she's also telling me I took hers. Okay, that's what you do not want to do. That is a do not do. Because it's a group conversation. There's no place for tattling in there. So what could this group have done if that person was,
You.
because Mrs. Hoag had to say, I mean, I was tattling on Mrs. Hoag. What was wrong with this? What was wrong, Riska?
You should have discussed what you were doing and told each other how you felt.
Well, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? I screamed out, plus I was a hog, wasn't I? I was
a big old
She just
run-on.
I was
going and
hogging,
going
I was
and
hogging.
going.
I love to talk. And I was hogging and hogging and hogging and hogging. That's not how a good meeting goes. A good meeting, well, let's show them. Let's show them how good the meeting goes. So here we go, round two. This is the way it should work. Okay, so the teacher says, why does it work better to use a line graph when measuring information across time?
Well, I remember that the teacher said to use the line graph if you're collecting data for a long period of time, is what I remembered. I can't remember why it's better, but I remember that it had to do something with that.
To build on what you said, I think that it's better because it shows it's going straight across or up and down. It makes it real obvious if it's going up or down. I think.
So in other words, it's easier to see something increase or decrease if you're just looking at one line instead of having to look at all those bars and then go back and forth and look down. That seems like a good way, a good reason for using a line graph.
So then you guys are thinking that it's easier to see the line graph is just, you just look at your whole graph and you can see, well, my scores have continually gone up, or I did really good on this one, but then the next one I took, I didn't do so good, but then I did really, really well. So it's easy to see your growth and your development on it.
Like, for another example, would be temperature. If you were wondering how the temperature changed, and you could do a line graph with temperature every day to see each month how it goes up and goes down. Would that?
Or another example, if you were growing a plant and you started it on a Monday and you wanted to measure the growth, and so across the bottom, the x-axis of your graph, you put Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and maybe you measured how tall it was each day, then that way you could see very easily that it was increasing in size. It would be real obvious.
Right.
So see how we finished the conversation? Everybody had a turn. You could answer each other. You didn't have to. You gave examples. Sometimes it's hard because after the first round, there's nothing else to say. So then the second round is hard, and the last person, it's the hardest. But be careful not to hog. You don't want to jump in real quick, because then it kind of makes it so the meeting isn't so effective. And finally, one last thing. When we're done with a question, I'm going to say, what did you hear that was powerful? And I'm going to see if anybody heard somebody else's comment, if somebody can share somebody else's. So while you're talking, you also want to be real careful that you are hearing, that you're hearing the kids at your table too. So you're the first kids to try this.
Yeah.
So this is going to be kind of an experiment for you. So let's try it.